Welcome to 4C Radio. We are broadcasting from Christ University Central Campus in Bangalore. 4C Radio is brought to you by the Department of Media Studies, Christ University. For all who are looking for a platform that focuses on communities, commons, climate, and communication, this is the place to be. What's more, this station is run by a diverse community of students and dedicated faculty members. Wrapping up the week celebrating World Environment Day, in today's finale episode, we bring back the champion of the earth, Dr. Madhav Gadgil. In this episode, Dr. Gadgil narrates three memorable stories from his field that illustrate the risk of climate conservation, the immense knowledge of local communities in handling such environmental concerns, and how there is a scientist in all of us. Everyone loves a good story time. So, without further ado, lend me your ears and let's listen in to the field stories of Dr. Madhav Gadgil as narrated to Prachi Pinglay.
When we met Dr. Madhav Gadgil at his house in Pune, we spoke about many important issues and also several interesting aspects of his life, such as how he started writing, the influence of Dr. Salim Ali and Iravati Karve on his life. We also discussed his autobiography, A Walk Up the Hill, which was published in 2023. It is one of the most straightforward and fascinating accounts of life of a scientist who foregrounds people in his work. The autobiography is dedicated to Bismarck Dias, a social activist from Goa. When I asked Dr. Gadgil about Bismarck, he told me that Bismarck was a courageous Goan who even left his association with the church to steadfastly fight for the cause of conservation. He protested against plans to build a resort on a hillock on an island in the Mandovi River. Dr. Gadgil told me about their meeting and their friendship.
And Bismarck got to know me. He asked me, "Are you one of those pretenders or are you genuinely in love with Mother Earth?" I said, "Look, it is up to you to judge." Anyway, after a while he judged. I think I wasn't quite the pretender that most people to whom he thinks of as environmentalists are just pretenders. So then he asked me to go stay with him. So there is this lovely island in the middle of Mandovi River, which has some Portuguese name, but the original Konkani name is Shakachi Jue. Jue is the island and Shak is a vegetable. And this island was famous for growing of eggplants. So one of the vegetables. I stayed with him and went around and he showed me many things.
However, Bismarck's resistance was met with hostility and violence.
Bismarck was the president of the Gaukari committee of village Shakachi Jue, and there was this hill in the middle of that island which would be a very attractive location for a hotel, and there was a hotelier who wanted to capture it. And Bismarck put very spirited resistance that as president of Gaukari Committee, he will not allow that hill to be used for this hoteling purpose. Then one day he went for a swim and he was born on that island and he had been swimming in Mandovi River and he went missing. So his body was discovered some 36 hours later, half eaten by fish down in the Mandovi River. His family and the villagers claimed that he was murdered. So the government found, of course, there is no evidence of death from unknown causes is all. As I said, I had been staying with him in his house. It was a lot of fun and I love fish and he had a number of friends among fishermen, so we used to have great feasts of fish in his house. Anyway, this is something which struck me.
Dr. Gadgil's recollection of fond times and, more importantly, recounting Bismarck's resistance to conserve nature at the cost of his life stayed with us for a long time after our meeting. Saving your sacred grove or your forest or your hill from profit-oriented development projects is never easy. Dr. Gadgil narrated another story of struggle of people of Kavare village.
That is, I was mentioning this Kaure village, where the local community were strongly protesting against mining on the hill. And that was part of their sacred ground. It was known also everywhere in Goa, in fact, that Kaure village had this mine on top of the hill. I think maybe manganese or iron ore. The hillock was the site of their Kashi Purush.
There is a clear law that states that sacred groves are not to be touched, but yet the mine was located right there.
Sacred grave sites of tribal communities, particularly, are never to be touched. They should be left inviolate. Now, the villagers at Kaure are Velips, and Velips are officially classified as a scheduled tribe. So there was no question mine should not have been located on that hillock, but it was located, and it was having a very serious adverse impacts on the water courses, on the agriculture in the village, and with the traffic of trucks carrying mining the ore and the pollution they were causing on the health, and traffic went in front of their local school, so the students and school found it very difficult to function with the constant noise of the trucks on the road. So they were very unhappy. They then set up the Gram Sabha through unanimous resolution, set up a cooperative society, and the Kaure Village Cooperative Society asked that we would prefer the mining to be stopped, but if mining is to be continued, then we should be given the rights to mine, so that we will mine carefully without adverse impacts on our community, and we will share the profits from the mine, which are enormous actually, with the people. So this is a very good solution to this problem. The government would not allow this cooperative society to be registered. There was no justification for not allowing it to be registered.
What followed was a saga of intimidation. Dr. Gadgil remembered an activist Nilesh Gaonkar who was beaten up and later gave up the struggle. After that, another local Ravindra took this up and continued the fight.
They persisted in their protests, so they took the next step and they arrested him and put him in judicial custody. While in judicial custody, at night, the gundas of the mining lobby got into the prison kind of thing where he was kept and tried to kill him. But he screamed, and then other prisoners actually rushed there. So then the gundas left and he was not killed. He just fractured one of his arms. But he has continued till today. The Kaure people are persisting in their protests, and Ravindra Vedi persisted leading their protests. But of course, with the enormous power of money, the Shah Commission on illegal mining as Goa has estimated the illegal profits of mining industry at 35,000 crores. So much money. So they are suppressing Ravindra and his Kaure people. But they are not giving up. They are protesting.
Dr. Gadgil's experiences over several decades show that while struggles for rights of tribals and fight to conserve the environment are extremely hard, indigenous and local people often do everything in their capacity to guard Mother Nature. Dr. Gadgil spoke of another story that pertains to the Forest Rights Act, indigenous knowledge, resources from forest, and a special flower.
Let me tell you some very positive experiences, and these are with the Forest Rights Act. And the Forest Rights Act, which came into force in 2008, not allowed to be implemented throughout the country, because giving rights to local people and natural resources is anathema. So although the act was passed and it is supposed to be implemented, over much of the country it is not. But there are exceptions. So in Gadchiroli, district of Maharashtra, fortunately, Kiran Kulkarni, she is a lady who was the deputy collector, who was in charge of implementing the Forest Rights Act, and she acted very honestly and gave various types of forest rights, but the important one is community forest resource. So this is area without any limit, but where there is clear evidence of traditional use of that terrain by local community.
Dr. Gadgil had spent a few months with various groups of tribal communities to help them learn quantitative estimation of natural resources.
There were a number of very bright young boys and girls who had sometimes very poor formal education, but they have tremendous knowledge of the local environment. When we did field work, they were my teachers. Now, with the modern technology, it is possible for them to be continued to interact and continue to be educated and get information which would earlier not be available, which is the information communication technology tools. And after 2015-16, in the rural areas in India, at least some people have the smartphones. In Gadchiroli, some villages which are away from the main roads and affected by Naxalites, in fact, in the grip of Naxalites. Nevertheless, the boys who were part of our course have their smartphones and they are able to communicate. So after the course was over,
These boys had learned to use their smartphones and had a WhatsApp group where they would share their queries. This interaction to know scientific names and also the rates of produce in various markets was very crucial. Though Gadgil had requested professors of botany from Nagpur to help the members of tribal communities, they did not. But that did not stop the inquisitive and motivated young boys from finding new tools to get more information. One day, something special happened.
so Sadhuram Badavi, he was amongst the very highly knowledgeable boys, knowledgeable in the local plants and animals. We were part of this WhatsApp group and they were uploading images of various plants, animals and chatting with each other. Where is this? And they were initially sharing only the Gondi names or Marathi names. But then suddenly this Sadhuram, he came up with the scientific name. In his village was this ground orchid, Geonorum taxiflorum, I think it was, and he came up with this name. So I asked him. He said, yes, I picked it up through using this. We had taught them to use these Google apps primarily to use Google Earth information to identify the vegetation in their community forest resources and so on. So we had made them familiar in the teaching course and the fact that there are these apps. But then he had gone further, explored other apps he had located. So there was this Geonorum taxiflorum amongst other things. Now the botany teachers in Gadchiroli College had become Sadhuram's students. Sadhuram is 10th standard failed. And they were his students because they did not know most of the plants. And Sadhuram was with these apps telling them even the scientific names of these plants. So he told him about this ground orchid. Then they looked up the literature and found that this was a special occurrence, that it was not a plant recorded from this part of the country at all. So they published a scientific paper with Sadhuram as one of the co-authors. So 10th standard failed boy is an author of a scientific publication. And that is what science asks for.
Along with Sadhuram, there are many who have started using technology. Professors from Gadchiroli, along with Dr. Gadgil, are taking this further. Dr. Gadgil believes this access to knowledge leads to something more important and fundamental in terms of rights and equity.
So now with the modern knowledge age, so to say, dawning, while the economic disparities in the society are continually worsening, and this is permitting the economically powerful to loot nature and to suppress people. Nevertheless, the informational disparities are very rapidly disappearing. And I think that is a very positive sign that maybe eventually will help turn the balance that our people, fortunately we have a vibrant democracy still. In democratic India, common people would be able to see what their rights are, and our constitution and various laws actually give them a number of advantages if they could use them, and they will hopefully do so.
We had started the conversation with Dr. Gadgil on the backdrop of man-made disasters and the report of his committee that warned of severe consequences if rampant construction was allowed in Western Ghats. Over time, we not only discovered little known facets of his life, but also why he is known as a people's scientist. His belief that meeting of indigenous knowledge of spirited local communities with modern tools of technology will strengthen the efforts to save nature made us hopeful too. We are certain that stories of Bismarck, villagers of Kavre, and Saduram will stay with you and nudge you a little bit towards the spirit of scientific inquiry, conservation, and climate justice.
That brings us to the end of the special series we presented for Environmental Week. Hope you enjoyed, and more importantly, the episodes made you reflect about the concerns plaguing our Earth. It's now time for action. Go out there and save our Earth. We will be back in 2 weeks with a special on stories about and around our campus in SG Palya. Don't forget to tune in on June 25th. Please write to us and follow 4C Radio on Instagram and X. Until next time, be curious and ask questions. This episode was edited by Srinivas Aditya, illustrated by Vernika Singh. The interview was conducted by Prachi Pinglay, Meljo Thomas, and Shantraju S. at the residence of Dr. Gadgil in 2025. 4C Radio is an initiative by the Department of Media Studies, Christ University, Bangalore.